human. The reason this is important is everybody thinks they have to be so strong all the time on social media. They think everything has to be perfect. You're not always going to win. Let me repeat that. You are not always going to win. If you're a poker player, it's impossible to get first place every single time. If you're a race car driver, you can't win every single time. If you're a football player, you can't win every single match. No matter how good you are, you don't go undefeated. It doesn't happen, and it doesn't have to happen. That's not reality. The times it's ever happened in sports history, we remember it because it's a rare, 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 unique moment. There's never been an NBA team that just swept every single game, every single night. There's no NFL team that just goes every single game, every single night. And the times that it's happened where there is a perfect streak, it's like once in 100 years. So while you're out there trying to prove that you're just the strongest guy in the world or the most perfect girl in the world, being vulnerable and human actually makes people feel much closer to you. When somebody's just absolutely perfect and they just have the white picket fence and they have everything's perfect about them, there's just no connection for people because that's not reality. The reality is most of your fans and followers don't have the perfect white picket fence. They don't make millions of dollars a year. They don't fly around in private jets. Showing the struggle, showing the work that goes into things. I'm not saying you go to the hospital and you have to show some surgery. If you do, I promise you'll get really good engagement. If you don't want to show the surgery process, don't. But being vulnerable and human and saying, I'm going to the hospital to have this surgery or have this checkup, people relate to that because all of your fans have had surgeries and checkups. If your kid's not feeling well and you post about it, like I have to leave work to go to pick up my kid from school, lots and lots of your followers and fans will relate to that because they've had to leave work to go pick up their kids from school, or they were kids that had to get picked up by their parents. It's a relatable situation. So I'm not saying it to exploit things. I'm not saying you should exploit your children or exploit the surgery that's happening, but bringing people into your life, showing who you are, it shows you as a personal brand. There's interesting ones with Ed Milet. Recently, this guy flies around in private jets. He speaks in front of 50,000 people at MGM. And he left one of his events, and he's on his private jet. The guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, fascinating character. And on that private jet, he posted about his struggle during that speech. He just spoke in front of 50,000 people. He's on his brand new jet, flying to his mansion. Like, the idea behind this is so crazy that it looks like he has this perfect lifestyle. And what does he do instead of gloating about speaking in front of 50,000 people? He looks like he's almost going to cry and explains the struggle of what that speech was like and what he wished he could have done for people, what he wished he could have said out there. He talks about how he's feeling. Think about that for a second. Most guys or girls that have hundreds of millions of dollars in private jets and mansions and just spoke in front of 50,000 people would live this perfect life, and they'd come out on their private jet and just, voila, and they would show this crazy, amazing thing. And instead, he leaned back in his chair, he looked dead into the camera, and he emotionally explained why he felt drained and why he wanted to leave more out there on the table, why he wishes he could have helped more people. Think about the fact that I remember that so passionately right this second. The reason I remember that one so passionately is because I felt a part of his story. Am I crying for him? You're not crying for him because he has private jets and mansions and speaks in front of tens of thousands of people, but you're engaged by him because he's telling his real, true story. He's being authentic. If he has a struggle, he explains it. If he feels good and confident, he talks about it. And you should too. If you're out there and you go and play soccer on the weekends and you win your soccer match, you can be proud when you win your soccer match. If during a soccer match the next weekend, you cut your leg open and you get second place and you're sad and mad about it, you can post about that too and not feel like, I can only post when I win first place. Too many times people think that everything has to be first place, everything has to be perfect, everything has to be photoshopped. But by actually being vulnerable and human, you make people like you that much more.